This is the ZMAR Podcast. Elite Benefits of America helps small and mid-sized companies with their health insurance programs. And now, your host, Butch ZMAR.
And today I got Rhett Robbins with me. We're going to talk about some of the small employer problems and some automation. So Rhett, thanks for joining me today.
How you doing?
Good. Hey, can you just give some of the audience a little background on some of the people that listen to this also know me, but why don't you give a little background on who you are and what you do?
Okay. My name is Rhett Robbins. I'm a registered employee benefits consultant, and I've been doing this since 1999, and I live in the Orlando, Florida area, and that's my primary market share.
I'm in the Midwest, so I think we've had plenty of good conversations over the last several weeks when we met through a program in our industry. And the markets are different, but they're really not, right? And so There's a little bit difference in some of the products that may be available in certain market spaces, but the demands from the employer are the same. Or similar, because we're all running into this problem. There's, healthcare costs, right? And then we need to try to provide better solutions for the employees to have better outcomes. There's all these problems the employer runs into. Can you just share maybe a couple of the problems you ran into over the last fourth quarter of what employers are facing this time of the year?
Sure. One of the problems that we solve that helps out a lot is automation in the sense of employee apps. You get employed, the HR departments in the HR department, they're filling out all the things. The employees are coming in, throwing the apps on the on their desk and doing this. They're walking away. Well, they're not filling out the date of birth. They're not filling out the Social Security, or they put a 5. The 5 looks like a 6, or the 6 looks like a 9, looks like a 4. And then the HR person gets all this stuff, all these apps. Then they got to go through, and then they got to go, I got to go track down X employee or Y employee. And then they spend half a day tracking down this one person. What's your social? What's your date of birth? And they're like, I don't know, or I left it blank for a reason. And it really slows down their day.
Yeah, you don't know how many times I had to go in this fourth quarter alone, had to go back because they missed the date of hire. They missed their birthday, or they even missed some digits on it, right? Like they put in like the month day, but then they missed the year. They have a family and they only fill it out for themselves. And then all of a sudden we're in January 2nd and they're like, hey, what about my family? And then you're like, the paper application doesn't say your family.
Right. Yes.
So these employees don't think twice sometimes, which is fine. They're busy in their own lives, right? They're trying to, go to work, get paid, go home, take care of the family. But it creates this obviously havoc with HR and the employer.
Right. Well, also you get this. So let's say we do an open enrollment fourth quarter. You give this employee this all these pages. So one page may be his benefits. The other page may be his rate for the employee. Then he's got another page for the dependents and what it's going to cost. And he gets all this stuff. And by the time he gets it home, who knows which pages that he has, especially for small employers. Now, large employers, they might have a booklet or whatever, but the smaller people, they're just handing it out. Here's all the papers we printed out. And by the time what they get at the office to get back to the house so that they can review it, they have no clue what they got.
It seems like it's an ongoing process. So COVID validated a lot of the automation that was already existing beforehand. In fact, it probably, a lot of cases, it just improved. But we've had this discussion too, where employers are leaning towards, how do I fix some of this? We're wasting a lot of time. You figure you're paying that HR professional that you hired, and I'm making this up, $50 an hour, maybe less, maybe more. And then you times that by all the hours of backtracking and finding employees. Some go on vacation in the middle of all this. They have to track them down and say, we missed information. And we're adding up all these hours of wasted time going back and get documentation. And a lot of times, even if there's a fee to the employer, it is a fraction of what it actually really truly costs the employer on wages. And so can you walk us through, because this is what you do a lot for your own clients, can you walk us through some of the process that the employers will have to go through to even analyze this and the setup and how it gets implemented? And then, of course, the service side, right? Onboarding and terminations, just in a summary perspective of what they could expect.
Sure. So one of the things we do is a carrier pays us X. And that's for ads, terms, shopping the insurance and putting it together. And we come in and you get paper forms, you take those paper forms, you send it in. That's time consuming. So what we do here at Butler Benefit Group, the name of my company, Butler Benefit Group, we actually have a software package called Ease, and we actually start our clients off small. So what we do is during the open enrollment period, we actually build out the plan design. We put it up on the software package. We build out the plan design. We put the rates in for dental, vision, disability, whatever they have. We put it all there. And then so when we do the open enrollment, we give the employees a link, and they can use their cell phone or they can use their computer or a tablet. It doesn't matter if it's Android or iOS. And then we send them that link. They click on the link, and then they sit there and they answer questions. Now, the great thing about using a Ben admin system or our system Ease is it's a rules-based system. So the thing is you got to put your first name in, you got to put your last name in. If you put the wrong date of birth in, so let's say you put in 10/1/2000 or 10/1/1902, it says, hey, that can't be possible. So it'll give you a red mark, and you got to put the right date in. Or if you leave off, if you put in 10/10/23 because you're thinking today's date or whatever, that doesn't work. So it's rules based. So you have to answer the questions as you go through. And then when you get to the end, and once you put all your personal information in, it's going to fill it out for the medical, the dental, the vision, all your forms. So the employee is not having to sit there and fill out, well, this is my medical, this is my dental, this is my vision, all that. Then that goes into, so when they start the medical portion, it's going to say, hey, this is the cost for you, this is X dollar amount per week. Then if you want to add your spouse, this is how much it costs. If you want to add your kids, this is how much it costs. And when you get to when you go through the medical, dental, vision, whatever you're on there, it'll say at the end, this is how much is going to come out of your check each week or per pay period. If you hit submit, or the employee hits submit, it verifies all the information is filled out correctly, and you can read it all. Okay, that's the great thing. If somebody's got bad handwriting, it fixes that, but it also makes sure that you got the dates are within the right time frame. And you hit submit, it goes to the employer, and they can sit there and they can review it. And then we submit that to the carriers, and everybody can read it. So it really helps the carriers because they're not trying to sit there and guesswork. Is this a 6/5? It's the wrong date. It makes the process go through much quicker.
And then aggravation for the employees, right? So like we submit the application, let's say it gets processed, right? We're talking about paper, and the validating why we do automation with technology is that we're in the first week of their plan, and they present their card to the pharmacy, and they can't process the pharmacy card because the birthday is wrong.
Yes,
because the way they read, the way they put it in based on the application. Now, to the employee's defense, sometimes there's lazy employees at the insurance company that type it in wrong, and those do happen. But a lot of times they can't read the numbers, or they didn't put enough, so they just make it up the difference. And then now you try to make a claim, and we find out that it's wrong. And now it could be 24 to 48 hours before it gets rectified, before you go back and get your prescription. Right. And now,
what's really nice, Butch, about that nowadays is now you can download all this information into an Excel CVS file. So now you get less hands on it. So when you download the employees into a CVS, you send it to the carrier. The carrier doesn't even touch it now. So then the carrier now is uploading into their system. So there's less transposed numbers. There's less transposed information, which is really nice. And it speeds the process up. So before you'd send it in and everything had to be manually done. It could take 3 or 4 weeks to get it into the system. Now we send them an Excel sheet. The Excel sheet goes into their system. Their system sends it up immediately. And within 3 or 4 days, you can have the group onboarded into the carrier system.
If you own a business, Elite Benefits of America wants to remind you that health insurance open enrollments are either happening now or coming very quickly. And this is the time to review and implement a healthcare plan to make or keep you as the employer of choice. Deadlines for open enrollment range between November 1st and January 1st. Get ahead of the curve. The Small Business Special Enrollment Period, part of the Affordable Care Act, now allows employers with 49 employees and under to offer health benefits without contributing a dime to the employee plan. Help your employees save money on taxes with health insurance they're already paying for with their hard-earned dollars. Butch Zemar from Elite Benefits of America wants you to reach out to him today. Visit elitebenefits.net or call 708-535-3006.
For termination, so one of the problems we've had in the past, and you could probably attest to this too, is so we get an email from an employer that says, hey, Johnny Smith, can you please take him off the medical? And sometimes that's all they say, or some version of that. So we take them off the medical, right? Like we have time and date stamp. Well, we just need what's the date you need to be terminated. In some cases, we need to know why. And let's say we get that information. They don't really imply that they're terminated from the company or what products they're really on. And let's say we find out they're terminated, because this could be both the employer and the broker issue, where they only get terminated on the medical, but they still have dental out there. Right. And because they don't get terminated all the products, because one, the employer maybe never told us. And two, like, when you have an employer that's 1,000 employees, and I'm making the number up, like that's a lot of transactions with multiple products, right? And so some of these old school brokers still have things the old school way, like to track all that and say what employee, what products they have could be very difficult. And so sometimes it could be overlooked. And so what we have found in our agency, right, moving to a technology platform, and an employer gets terminated or employee gets terminated, right? It's all products, right? And so it definitely saves. Sometimes that's just one thing we have found. Now, can some of these automated systems, and you use it a little bit more than I do, but can employers actually use it for like an employee that a candidate, so they're trying to hire, to send offer letters through or pre-screen? Like some of them will ask for benefit information up front before they get hired. I assume some of these technologies can actually be used for that.
Yes, they can. That's a great question. So the thing is it depends on your Ben admin system, but the one we use, it has onboarding on it, so you can actually send it out, and then the employee can see the benefits. It has a side-by-side of all the medical and the rates. So the employee, a potential employee, you could give them access to it, and they can go in there and they can look at the benefits, what it's going to cost for medical, dental, vision, so they can compare it. And also on the onboarding piece, we actually help our clients upload all their documents. So from NDA disclosures to company car policies to cell phone policies, they sign everything digitally on there, and they get to see it. So there's nothing missed, once you load it up. But it's a huge help to somebody coming on board trying to figure out, is this the right company I want to be with? Because do they have the benefits? And if you're paying for the benefits, especially today's time, trying to retain talent, you want to show that you've got great benefits, and you want to show that you're paying 70-80% of the employee only piece of the pie, and it's only costing X dollars amount per week for these great benefits.
All great stuff, right? For the employer to save money, attract some good talent. And so with technology, and actually you're in Florida, and so Florida was one of the more open states during COVID. Did you find, even though because that's just your isolated market, so with COVID, everything shut down initially, and then I know some states like Florida, they opened up. Did your employers still do remote access, like for open enrollments and whatnot? And then how was technology a piece with that during that transition? And then the last part of that question is, what are you seeing now? Are you actually going out for these open enrollment meetings, or are they still done online?
So that's a great question. It actually moved into a kind of a hybrid. So what we found was with my groups, and I got from 500 employees all the way down to like 25. So we found that our office staff did it online. The blue collar, we showed up. And just for the fact is, I think that the clients were a little hesitant to get the blue collar to actually log on their phone and things of that nature that were more, the white collar seemed to be more at ease with doing everything online, where the blue collar are like, we want to see you come out, we want to see you eye to eye and things of that nature. So the first year in 2020, when this all started, it was a kind of a combination. But I will say 2021, it got better. More people the blue collar started doing it. And this year, we actually had people we still showed up. But when we showed up, we had the employees pull out their smartphone. And as we're going through the process, they logged in. And as I'm talking about the benefits, they could see it on their phone, and they actually were signing up, because at the very end, you don't have to hit submit. You can hit save for later. And then when they get home to their wives, they're like, hey, this is what I saw. This is what I think we should do. They discussed it. And then 24 to 48 hours later, we were getting submit buttons.
You bring up a good point there, where what we discovered with technology too is that you had a faster response time, right?
Yes.
And so versus the paper, you're sitting there still tracking things down, but like they do it faster, right? So
yes.
like we had one employer, they were a little bit smaller, but this fourth quarter we actually moved them to technology because it made sense, and we moved them on there. I literally less than 72 hours they were all done,
right?
Like all of them, and
yes.
It's like, wow. And we had to go back and fix up a few things. That was one family, one employee forgot to add their family, so there was a little adjustments. But yeah, all the applications were done in 72 hours, and I've never seen it move that fast.
Right. So I gotta say this. So this is a great point here. So in 2020, the HR was apprehensive about putting the software, and just this year, because on the software, it gives you a pie chart and it says, this is what's done, this is who outstanding, so they can track it. And like you said, within 72 hours, they were like, you mean I'm done with enrollment? Open enrollment's done. I don't have to track down the employees and find out who's missing paperwork, who's missing the addresses or IDs. And they were like, quickest, fastest open enrollment they've had. And the employees got all their questions answered, because all the information is available 24/7 online. So they weren't coming in like asking, how do I find the network? Well, it's right there, because you embed the link to the network and they find it. So much easier.
Oh, for sure. That speeds up the process. And the other thing we noticed is that there was actually more employees enrolled. And and that was another thing that was amazing too, especially because this year it seemed like we moved a lot more onto the platform ourselves. But the more employees were enrolled, which is actually key for the business, right?
Yes.
Sure, we get paid per enrollment, but on their side, they're more engaged, right? The employees taking advantage of the benefits that are there, right? They're a little bit more invested in the company, and obviously that's a big win for the employer.
So we had actually a landscaping company that had a lot of Hispanics, and they had 8 people, and the owner was like, Abbott, we'll let you do it, but no one else is going to take it. They went from 8 enrolled to 35. And the Spanish people were happy because it's able to convert it into Spanish and that kind of stuff. So yes, it's amazing if you educate them and then do for retention, everything else. And I just had lunch with the person, and their actual retention is higher. They're not having as turnover as much, especially with the ones enrolled.
Yeah, win for everybody. This is definitely great insight, especially from you. And the reason we recorded this was you have a lot of insight on the automation side of it. And I thought we would bring some of that on this podcast. And so Rhett, this is great. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, especially in the Florida market, I do know that you work in other states too. But if somebody said, hey, I like this guy, Rhett, how do they get in touch with you?
The first way is go to my website, www.callbbg, that's butlerbenefitgroup.com. But the best way is cell phone, 407-492-0008.
Great. I'll have that in the show notes. I'll have a link to the website. I'll also do it to your LinkedIn profile, so that way they can get in touch with you if there's something there. I really appreciate your insight on this, because it's obviously valuable for a lot of employers across the country.